and thank you all for being Linda. And I met Rebecca too earlier. And I want to thank, first of all, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for inviting me here today and for holding this conference. I think there's a real need for it. And let me just tell you about the conversation I had with the cab driver on the way from the airport, because I just missed the shuttle bus, so I took a cab over from the airport. And very short conversation, but he said, you know, you're traveling awfully light today. What are you doing in Thunder Bay? And I said, well, I am I'm here for a campaign training school for women. And he said, well, two things that were interesting. One, that he had heard the ads on the radio, so I think that's great, obviously well promoted. So thank you for that. But he also said, you know, isn't that a bit sexist? You know, you always get the real goods from cab drivers, right? I mean, if you really want to know what's going on in people's heads, take a taxi ride somewhere. So I said, you know, maybe at first blush it might seem that way, but you know, we've only got 25% MPs in Parliament that are female, and you know, it's really not enough. And I think a lot of people think that it would, you know, things would be better in government if there were more women. And he said he wasn't really convinced by that. I said, you know, I have two children, two teenagers, and one boy, one girl. And I said, you know, I'm not saying that I would ever tell one that, you know, I wouldn't tell my son he could be something that my daughter couldn't, or vice versa. I said, but you know, I think what happens is a lot of studies have shown that a lot of women don't think that they can or should enter politics. In fact, I've read a fair bit about this. A lot of women simply don't think they're qualified. And so when organizations like Samara, they do great work on the Democratic Reform Front, they asked questions of politicians, you know, why did you get involved? And or how did you get involved? So many, they found that men, for whatever reason, they were raised differently or generational issues, they think that they're qualified just by being. Women have to be convinced a little bit. And I guess that's just the way it is. So I'm here to say that we all have a job to do in convincing women that we do have the skills. They're different than men's skills. That's the thing. So, I mean, my psychology degree, for instance, I heard a little laugh, a chuckle when that was mentioned. I always say, you know, that's the most, yeah, so I'm one of the only people among my peers who didn't take political science. And people often ask me why, and I said, well, you don't, are you kidding me? Psychology, I studied crazy people. Like, you don't think that's perfect for going into politics? Who's the dumb one there? Well, the political science part I just learned as I went along. That was easy. But anyways, it was the philosopher Machiavelli that said that the most important piece of knowledge that any politician can have is a good knowledge of human nature. And if you have that, then you'll be a successful politician. And I think women understand human nature pretty well. But anyway, and I also want to just, as part of my introduction, Don Martin wrote an article, I just found it on nationalnewswatch.com, he's the CTV host of Power Play, and he used an International Women's Day to talk about how we need a call to action for more women to run, which I thought was nice. Talks about, he says specifically, there are exceptions, but as a general rule, women MPs bring out the best in the House of Commons, which I think is true. If you want to see, so I'm quoting him now, if you want to see true parliamentary spirit in action, check out this. This shows, he's referring to his CTV Power Play, that's on every day at 5 o'clock. Check out this show's all-woman Tuesday trio of rival MPs. They have heated discussions on air, but they share a laugh and a hug as soon as the camera goes dark. I'm one of those 3. And there's NDP MP Ginny Sims from British Columbia, Newton North Delta. She's totally awesome. And so is Yvonne Jones, who's a member of parliament from Labrador. So, and it's true, we don't agree on anything, let me tell you. But they're just lovely. And we talk about all kinds of issues. I shouldn't say we don't agree on anything. We do actually agree on some things. In fact, Elizabeth May, who was voted Parliamentarian of the Year, I voted for her because she is so smart and works so hard and is very articulate. I have a lot of time for her. We agree on a number of things. I'm supporting her private members bill that's coming up soon for debate. And also, we're both supporting my colleague on the Conservative side, Mike Chong's private members bill on democratic reform called the Reform Act. So, you know, we joke all the time, well, I've told her that my 18-year-old daughter's gonna vote for her in the next election. And so we have a bit of a chuckle about that. But I have a feeling if my daughter wants me to stay working in Ottawa and out of her hair, that she's actually gonna cast her ballot for me in the end, but I can't be quite sure. So I'd like to tell you how I got to be involved in this initiative to encourage more women to run and to be here on behalf of Kelly Leach. Dr. Kelly Leach, who is the Minister she Minister of Labour for Canada as well as for the status of women. And Kelly, in addition to being a pediatric orthopedic surgeon with an MBA, who I think she was, I know she was a professor at the University of Western Ontario. What's that school of business called? In any case, she's brilliant and wonderful and amazing. And we've been friends since we were teenagers. And we got involved together in youth politics. Has anyone here been involved in pure party politics? Like, yeah, a couple? Oh, more than a couple. That's great. And did any of you start in youth politics? Oh yeah. Oh, good. A couple too. So you know what it's like, and you know that you might know and might have the same experience as I did, that you meet all kinds of people, and that was really, for me, what sparked my involvement in politics. Back in 1985, when I was a teenager, my cousin, who was a student at York University, asked me to attend a meeting. That was the year that the Ontario PC party was selecting a new leader. Actually, we did it twice. It was a nightmare, but that's another story. And so she asked me to attend a delegate selection meeting. Didn't even know what that was at the time. She said, you'll just have to go and say a few words and try to get a delegateship because there's a convention coming up, and you know, she was supporting Dennis Timbrell for leader at the time, and all of the delegates in Brampton, where I lived then, were Larry Grossman supporters. She said, we're gonna just try to get one youth delegateship out of Brampton for Dennis Timbrell. So I had no idea what to expect. Turns out there were 250 people there. And I got up and I gave a speech, and I didn't really know what to say. I was very excited about the possibility of going to this convention, having fun as a youth delegate. Anyway, I received one whole vote, my own. So I always tell that story because, especially to teenagers, and think, yes, it's a start. Yeah, Linda's an optimist, glass half full over here. So not only let that be a lesson to you when you run. Always let people tell you shouldn't vote for yourself. You absolutely should, because sometimes it's the only vote you're going to get. So that's number one. That's the number one lesson to make out of that. But more importantly for me, I think I realized that night that this was something I was going to really enjoy. I loved it. And some of the people I met that evening in that room in the old theater in Brampton are still my friends today, and some of them helped me on my 2011 campaign. So, you know, that's the way politics is, and I think that's what I love most about it, is that you make lifelong friendships. And that continued on. I was involved in youth politics, and I got involved in my campus club at the University of Toronto, became president of that. I ran Kelly's campaign, Kelly Leach, when she ran for Ontario PC Campus Association president back in 1991. She won, I lost. We didn't run against each other, different years. I'm a bit older than she is. But some of the other people who were there at that convention and whom I met back in the 1980s included Peter Van Loan, now Government House Leader, Tony Clement, President of the Treasury Board, Rusty Baird, we then called him, who you might know better as John Baird, Foreign Affairs Minister. All these folks, I know I'm sorry to be a name dropper. I'm just, we knew each other as teenagers, and it was, it was pretty amazing to have that kind of a start in politics. But politics, in terms of networking, is the opportunities are big. I stayed involved in politics and worked at Queen's Park for 4 years, and then another 4 as a party organizer. So my niche, I guess, is in the organization side of it, side of politics. So, which makes me very hard to work for as both a campaign manager and staff. So I have the double negative, I guess, of having run federal campaigns myself. So, that nightmare candidate that knows exactly what to do, but as you know, as a candidate, you're not really supposed to, you're just supposed to do as you're told. So that gets a little dicey at times. And having worked for Jim Flaherty as well, I'm also an ex-staffer. So in other words, my staff have it rough, I guess. I ran, the first time I ran for office, Linda, you mentioned that people run and lose sometimes a couple of times. So that's certainly been my case. I ran for city council in 2006 in Brampton, and I lost. Great experience though. I just loved it. I started knocking on doors in July for the election, which I can't remember if it was in October or November. Met so many people. Municipal elections, you can kind of have a little more fun with them. I had my signs were green and purple, and they had my picture on them. It was fun. It was, I had a great team. I used to just go out and door knock and talk to people and meet people. And my parents had lived in the area for a long time, so it was really neat to get to know people in a different way. And so very good experience. But realized that the municipal level of politics wasn't for me. I wanted to, I wanted to run federally, so I tried at that in 2008, and I lost again. But I think everything happens for a reason and because it's meant to. So that gave me kind of, I think, the motivation I needed, and I'll tell you right off the top that we moved to a different riding, and we moved, well, we were going to move anyway, but it worked out. It worked out that it was a better riding for Conservatives, and so, although in the following election we won the old one and the new one, so it worked out well for both of us, and so I was able to turn that into a third time lucky, I guess, is what I'm trying to tell you. But so that, I wanted to give you some sort of background. I also wanted to fill you in on a conversation I was having with Melissa at lunchtime today, and I decided I wanted to make mention of that in my remarks today, and that's that. Well, they asked me to speak about challenges and obstacles, and so I guess I'll say this. As much as I love what I do, and I feel privileged every day. It's still sometimes scary, and so I think if I wanted to impart just one message to you today, it's that, and that is that just because some people make it look easy, it still can be pretty scary, and that's okay. You have to do it anyway. Just because if this is what you want to do, then you just do it anyway, because so I've been involved for 29 years in politics, and I've been elected for 3 and made 3 attempts at it, and I still get scared almost every day. You know that Lululemon saying, do something every day that frightens you? I feel like I live that, you know. Let me tell you about yesterday, for example. So yesterday, how much time do we have left, Melissa? 2 minutes, okay. So yesterday, well, for the past year, I've had the honor of being I was elected chair of an all-party parliamentary standing committee on violence against Indigenous women. We were looking into the tragic situation of missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. And so, yesterday was a big day because the committee, we tabled our report, and as chair, that's my job. I stand up and I table the report. Great honor to do that, and so I was all set to do that at noon. That wasn't the scary part. The scary part was that I received a question in the House of Commons. So if you know how Parliament works, you know that backbenchers don't get questions. Only cabinet ministers get questions. They take questions in question period and have to answer them. And if they're not there, their parliamentary secretary is like an assistant minister. They take the questions if the minister's not in the House that day. But there is a little known, rule in the big green book of procedure that says that committee chairs may also be asked questions on the procedure or process of the committee or something like that. So I knew that rule. I knew that that committee chairs couldn't be asked a substantial question on the committee itself. So I wasn't really worried, even when I saw Liberal MP Carolyn Bennett stand up and direct her question toward me. I didn't think that I would be allowed, that the House Leader would allow me to answer it. And in fact, Peter MacKay, the Minister of Justice, had been answering all the questions that day. There were a number of questions about the committee and its report that yesterday. And so Peter MacKay had been answering all the others. And so when it came time, when Carolyn Bennett said, I'd like to ask the chair of the special committee, member from Mississauga South, to answer the question, I didn't think I would actually be able to answer it, so I wasn't really that worried. But the House Leader, my old friend, Peter Van Loan, looked at me, and I think, the Prime Minister wasn't in question period yesterday. It was a Friday, it was kind of casual. He looked at me and he went, and I went, so by the time that all happened, it was time to stand up and answer the question. And I don't know what I said. It's in Hansard, so it's there, so it's written down for posterity for all time. I did actually get a printout of it later. It doesn't look so bad. And but I sat at my first question ever, possibly last, and I sat down. I must have been shaking like a leaf for 20 minutes after that. So, just one little example of how it goes. One of my colleagues came and sat beside me and he said, I was just outside watching you on the monitor. Did you just answer a question? What happened there? It's so odd, right, that this would happen. I said, just stay here because I'm shaking so badly. And so, anyway, I calmed down, and then I went to CTV studios and I taped Question Period, which is on 11 o'clock Sunday morning. And then I was mobbed by another TV as I was coming out of that studio who wanted to hear from me, which is pretty exciting. You only see stuff like that on television, right? Being chased by a camera, so that was pretty neat, but a little nerve-wracking. And on my way to CBC studios to do that, and I flubbed a little line in there, but I was so nervous I could hardly get out the words, that anyway, I did all right, I suppose, but I guess I just wanted to say that these happen no matter how long you've been involved in politics. You just kind of have to get over it. And I did get in trouble one time, in trouble on Twitter. I got some nasty I know, I hate Twitter, but anyway, that's another issue. You do what you gotta do, you know. So I mentioned, I was actually giving the Liberal, right, I'm almost out of time. I was giving the Liberal member of Parliament on the panel. She won a by-election recently, and she was being given a hard time. And I mentioned, I said, women have, she's obviously a tough lady. I give her a lot of credit. And I said something like, we all have thick skin. If you're in politics, you have thick skin. Anyway, that was taken to be a lecture for women. You have to have thick skin. Well, first of all, I think all politicians have to have thick skin. It's a tough business, and so you just need it. But on the other hand, I think most women are pretty tough, right? And we're just we just sort of show it in a different way sometimes. So, in any case, I have. I didn't really get to all of the questions, but I certainly would be happy to talk to the groups during the roundtable, and I'm really excited about hearing what the other panelists have to say. I've already met two of them, one from Brantford and one from Alberta, and I know that part of the day is going to be really exciting too, so I apologize for going a little bit over time. But I will be here until 4:30 or until the end of the day, so please feel free. I'd love to meet you, and don't be shy to ask questions. Thank you again for inviting me. It was a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that lots of you run for office, and maybe I'll see some of you in the House of Commons on Parliament Hill soon as well. Thanks.